Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss any video lesson from Rao's IAS Study Circle. Join the official Telegram channel of Rao's IAS Study Circle to stay updated and get all the materials on the Telegram. The link to the channel can be found in the description box. Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading from a UPSC Civil Services examination point of view. These are the list of the news which we will be taking up for today's discussion, and timestamp for these have been provided in the YouTube description. So on this note, let's start our today's discussion from UPSC Prelims and Mains point of view. The Prelims examination 2022 is just round the corner, and on this note, we have introduced the Prelims Compass 2022 for the subject of Polity and Governance, and this is now available on the Amazon. The link for this has been provided in the YouTube description. Let's take up this news appearing on page number 8 in the text and context section. The news says the functioning of the Enforcement Directorate. What are the powers of ED under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, which was enacted in 2002 and came into effect in 2005? Now, this topic of Enforcement Directorate has been in news recently, and based on this, you need to understand certain important aspects so that if a question is asked in your prelims examination, you are able to attempt such question or answer such question correctly. So the gist of this text and context section says that PMLA, that is Prevention of Money Laundering Act, was brought in to prevent parking of money outside India and also to trace out the layering and trail of money. Now look into this term referred as layering. So layering can be said to be one of the stages with respect to money laundering. So we will also learn about different stages of money laundering. It further says that the ED got its power to investigate these crimes under section 48 and 49 of PMLA. It further highlights that whenever any offence is registered by a local police station which has generated proceeds of crime over and above rupees 1 crore, the ED steps in. So this becomes the jurisdiction of ED. And ED can also carry out search of the property, seizure of money and documents if it suspects money has been laundered. Now we see that various aspects of money laundering has been provided in this particular article. So from a very basic concept, we need to understand that what is the meaning of this term money laundering, based on which this legislation was enacted basically to prevent Money Laundering Act. Further, you also need to know what are the international agreements or conventions which the government of India has ratified, because of which the government of India enacted the PMLA in 2002. Before starting our discussion, let's go through these practice questions so that you understand as to what kind of questions may be asked with respect to this particular article. So the first question is, with reference to Financial Intelligence Unit India, consider the following statements. First, it acts as central repository and maintain national database. Second, it is a central national agency which analyzes suspect financial transactions. And third, it is an independent body reporting directly to Economic Intelligence Councils. So in this you need to know which of the statements given above are correct. Now look into this second question. It says the term predicate offense, often in news, is associated with various options are given. Options are domestic violence, theft of unique treasures and artifacts, money laundering and terrorist financial activities, and theft of trophies. Now, a few days back, we understood about this concept of trophies, which was provided under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Now, the next question says that in its effort to tackle money laundering, Government of India has ratified which of the following international conventions. So, these are the various conventions which has been provided. So, you need to know that which of the following conventions have been ratified by the Government of India with respect to money laundering or illegal financial activities. And lastly, this question says that with reference to Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2002, consider the following statements. First, the Act does not provide for the mechanism of appellate tribunal. So you need to know whether this mechanism of appellate tribunal has been provided at all or not under the PMLA. And the second statement says that decisions of special court can be appealed in the Supreme Court. So basically you need to know whether the Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002 provides for constitution of a special court, and any decision of the special court can be appealed in which court, that is in the Supreme Court or any other court, namely the High Court. And based on these questions, let's go through some of the important provisions of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2002. So very clearly it says that this is an act to prevent money laundering and also to provide for confiscation of property derived from or involved in money laundering. So basically the authorities have power to confiscate property. So the first topic is that which agency administers the Prevention of Money Laundering Act? It is the Directorate of Enforcement in the Department of Revenue under Ministry of Finance, which is responsible to investigate cases of offence of money laundering under the PMLA. And another agency includes the Financial Intelligence Unit, which also functions under the Department of Revenue under Ministry of Finance. So it says that it is the central national agency responsible for receiving, processing, analyzing and disseminating information relating to suspect financial transactions or such transactions which the government suspects to be involved in money laundering. It further says that this institution, that is Financial Intelligence Unit, is also responsible for coordinating and strengthening the efforts of national and international intelligence. So basically it also collaborates with international agencies. So it coordinates and strengthens efforts of national and international intelligence, investigation and enforcement agencies to pursue global efforts against money laundering and related crimes. It further says that this institution is an independent body reporting directly to the Economic Intelligence Council headed by the Finance Minister. And lastly, this institution is a multidisciplinary body where personnel or officers are inducted from different organizations such as Central Board of Direct Taxes, that is CBDT, Central Board of Excise and Customs, RBI, Securities Exchange and Board of India, Department of Legal Affairs and intelligence agencies also. And the various function of Financial Intelligence Unit of India includes collection of various information pertaining to these kind of transactions, analysis of such information, sharing of such information with various agencies, acting as a central repository where it says that it establish and maintain national database on the basis of reports received from reporting entities, coordination with various entities, and also carries on research and analysis regarding key areas on money laundering trends, typologies, and also developments in the field of money laundering. So based on these understandings, we can say that all these three statements are correct, as the Financial Intelligence Unit of India acts as a central repository. It is the central national agency which analyzes suspect financial transaction, and it is also an independent body reporting directly to the Economic Intelligence Council. Now so far we have referred to the term Financial Intelligence Unit of India. So there is a global financial intelligence unit which is referred as the Egmont Group. So please remember this from your prelims perspective. So it highlights that as a global organization, the Egmont Group facilitates and prompts exchange of information, knowledge and cooperation among members of Financial Intelligence Unit, of which India is also a member. And that's why the Financial Intelligence Unit of India shares various information with various international agencies. So in 1995, this Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Units was established to enhance the exchange of intelligence between various jurisdictions. So it is just like the Interpol, as various intelligence units of different countries share information with respect to money laundering and financial transactions regarding the terrorist activities. So Egmont Group provides these financial intelligence units with a platform to securely exchange expertise and financial intelligence to combat money laundering, terrorist financing and associated predicate crimes. Now see this term predicate crimes coming here. So predicate crimes are any crimes either related to money laundering or related to terrorist financing. And for this purpose, the Egmont Group has also put in place the Egmont Secure Web, which is a channel widely used for the exchange of information by members of the group. So from your prelims perspective, you must know about the Egmont Group, which is a global organization which facilitates the exchange of information, knowledge and cooperation among members financial intelligence units of the world. So after understanding about the implementing agencies under PMLA, let's understand about the meaning of money laundering. So it highlights that money laundering has been defined as any process or activity connected with the proceeds of crime, including its concealment, possession, acquisition or use. So these are the four terms highlighted with respect to use of proceeds of crime. So it says that any process or activity connected with the proceeds of crime, including its concealment, possession, acquisition or use, and projecting or claiming it as untainted property. So we need to know about the term proceeds of crime. So proceeds of crime means any property derived or obtained directly or indirectly by a person as a result of criminal activity. So these property must be derived by any person directly or indirectly, and this property is a result of criminal activity. And this criminal activity is relating to any scheduled offense under PMLA or value of any such property where such property is taken or held outside the country. So any proceeds of crime, even if they are held outside the country, they shall be considered as proceeds of crime under the PMLA. So money laundering is the processing of criminal proceeds to disguise their illegal origin. So money laundering basically involves concealment of the identity of the proceeds of crime. Basically, the group or the person does not want the financial intelligence units of the country to know what is the source of such financial transaction. Now, with respect to money laundering, there are 3 stages. Now, one of the stage which has been referred in the news was layering. Now, this is the second stage. The first stage is placement, followed by layering, and the third stage is integration. Now, let us understand about placement. Now, placement means introducing illegal funds or proceeds of crime into the financial system of a country. And these illegal funds are introduced into the financial or banking system of a country by breaking a large corpus of fund into smaller parts. And these smaller parts are then deposited into different bank accounts. So it says that introducing illegal funds in the financial system by breaking up large amount of cash into less conspicuous smaller sums which are deposited directly into a bank account. And these smaller amounts through check, bank drafts, etc. are also deposited into various accounts at different locations in the world. So basically at the first stage, a large sum of money is broken into smaller sums and infused into the banking system. The second stage is that of layering. Now in this stage, conversion of such amount takes place. So it says that in this stage, continuous conversion or movement of funds takes place within the financial system. And this conversion or movement, basically transfer of funds from one account to another, takes place on a continuous level so as to increase the distance from the true origin. So it says that in this stage, continuous conversion or movement of funds takes place within the financial system through numerous accounts to hide their true origin and to distance them from their criminal source. And in this stage, money may be moved into various jurisdictions which do not cooperate in anti-money laundering investigations. So this is also an important part of the stage of layering. And the third stage is integration. So after the first 2 stages, these funds slowly becomes the part of the legitimate economy as slowly they get mixed with the regular transactions. So it says that the funds reach the legitimate economy after getting inseparably mixed with the legitimate money earned through legal sources of income. These funds are then invested in real estate, business ventures, luxury assets, etc. So these are the 3 stages or process of money laundering. Further, with respect to international response to tackle money laundering, Financial Action Task Force was constituted or established by the G7 summit in Paris 1989 to develop a coordinated international response. So please remember this also from your prelims perspective. It says that one of the first tasks of FATF was to develop recommendations which set out the measures national government should take to implement effective anti-money laundering programs. Now, India is also an active member of Financial Action Task Force. This also is an important prelims pointer. So in its effort to tackle money laundering, India is signatory to the following international conventions, which are International Convention for the Suppression of Financing of Terrorism, UN Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime, and UN Convention Against Corruption. The Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2002 provides for various scheduled offences. Here, Section 2Y of the Act defines scheduled offence as the offence specified in Part A of the schedule, the offences specified under Part B of the schedule, if total value involved in such offences is 1 crore rupees or more, and offences specified under Part C of the schedule. Now, Part C deals with trans-border crimes. So this also becomes an important prelims pointer, and it is a vital step to tackle money laundering across international boundaries. Now, the 2012 amendment, which took place in the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, was omitted by the Prevention of Money Laundering Amendment Act of 2012, and all offences of Part B have now been placed in Part A of the schedule. So this also becomes another important prelims pointer. And offences mentioned under Part B has been merged with Part A as per the 2012 amendment. Now earlier the term predicate offence was also mentioned. So we have stated that the term predicate offence is usually used to describe money laundering or terrorist financing activities, and with respect to PMLA, every scheduled offence is a predicate offence. Further, who can investigate a case of money laundering? So according to section 48 and 49 of PMLA, the officers of the Directorate of Enforcement have been given the powers to investigate cases of money laundering, and these officers have also been authorized to initiate proceedings for attachment of property and to launch prosecution in the special court which has been constituted under the PMLA. Now here attachment of property means any property associated with money laundering. There shall be prohibition of transfer, conversion, disposition or movement of such property by an order issued under Chapter 3 of PMLA. So this is the meaning of attachment of property. Now the PMLA also provides for designated authorities. These designated authorities are Director or Additional Director or Joint Director of Enforcement Directorate, Deputy Director, Assistant Director or such other class of officers as may be appointed for this particular purpose by the central government. Further, regarding powers of authorities under PMLA, the director shall have the same power as is vested in a civil court under the Code of Civil Procedure while trying a suit or a case with respect to the following matters. So with respect to these matters, the director shall be vested with same power as that of a civil court with respect to discovery and inspection of certain documents, enforcing the attendance of any person including any officer of a reporting entity and examining such person on oath, compelling the production of records, receiving evidence on affidavits, issuing commission for examination of witness and documents, and any other matter which may be prescribed. Here it says that a director, additional director, joint director, deputy director or assistant director, basically who are the designated authorities under PMLA, shall have the power to summon any person whose attendance they consider necessary, whether to give any evidence or produce any records during the course of investigation or proceedings under the PMLA, and any proceedings for summoning by the director or designate authority shall be considered as a judicial proceedings. Apart from this, there are certain powers which are also available to investigating officers under PMLA. These are with respect to provisionally attaching any property which has been derived out of proceeds of crime, conducting survey of a particular place, conducting search of building, place, vessel, vehicle or aircraft, or even seize or freeze documents or records, conduct personal search, arrest person accused of committing the offence of money laundering, summon and record the statements of persons concerned, and also the power of retention of property for a period not exceeding 180 days, which means they can keep the property for 180 days from the day on which such property was seized. Now PMLA also provides for an appellate tribunal. So such appellate tribunal, which has been constituted under the Smugglers and Foreign Exchange Manipulators Forfeiture of Property Act 1976, shall be the same appellate tribunal in which cases of money laundering shall be referred. Appeal in such appellate tribunal has to be filed within 45 days from the date of receipt of a copy or order made by the adjudicating authority. And here adjudicating authority with respect to PMLA shall consist of a chairperson and 2 other members. Now 1 member each shall be a person having experience in the field of law, administration, finance or accountancy. Now for a person to be appointed as a member of an adjudicating authority from the field of law, he must be qualified to be appointed as district judge, or such person must has been a member of the Indian Legal Service and has held a post in grade 1 of that service. And regarding other member in the field of finance, accountancy or administration, they must possess certain qualifications which is prescribed by the central government. Now the PMLA also mentions about a term referred as contracting state. Now contracting state means any country or place outside India in respect of which arrangements have been made by the central government with the government of such country through a treaty or otherwise, and this is done basically to share information. And the term tracing refers to determining the nature, source, disposition, movement, title or ownership of any property involved in money laundering. Now the PMLA also provides for constitution of special court. So it says that for trial of offence punishable under section 4 of PMLA with reference to cases of money laundering, the central government, in consultation with the Chief Justice of a respective High Court, can designate one or more courts of session, that is session court, as special court for such particular area. It further says that while trying an offence of money laundering under PMLA, a special court also has to try the offences with which the accused may under the code of CRPC be charged at the same trial. And regarding the nature of offences which are triable by the special court, it says an offence of money laundering punishable under section 4 of PMLA and any scheduled offence connected to the offence of money laundering shall be tried by the special court constituted under the PMLA, and an appeal from special court shall be referred to the High Court. So these are some of the important highlights with respect to Prevention of Money Laundering Act of 2002. So I hope after our discussion you will be able to solve these practice questions, as the term predicate offence we have also discussed. It is with respect to money laundering. The third question was, in its effort to tackle money laundering, Government of India has ratified which of the following conventions? I am sure you now know. And the last question, with reference to Prevention of Money Laundering Act, consider the following statements. The Act does not provide for mechanism of appellate tribunal. Clearly it provides for one, and decisions of special courts can be appealed in High Court. And lastly, question in your prelims can also be asked with respect to Egmont Group, which is a global organization which prompts the exchange of information, knowledge and cooperation regarding money laundering and terrorist financing activities. Thus, this topic becomes important mainly from your prelims and also mains perspective. In the prelims, this topic gets covered with respect to regulatory bodies, and questions may be asked about Enforcement Directorate, Financial Intelligence Unit of India, and also other aspects related to PMLA. And in the mains, question can be asked under GS paper 3 with respect to security, or even GS paper 2 regarding regulatory bodies. With this, let's take up the next news for discussion. Now let's take up the next news also appearing in the text and context section on page number 8. Now this news says, the status of India's National Cyber Security Strategy. What are the key recommendations of Data Security Council of India with respect to framing of a robust and holistic cyber security policy? So this news highlights that of late, India has been witnessing an increased cyber attack, as according to the cyber world, India is a profitable country for them, and they basically use ransomware and demand certain ransom in the form of cryptocurrencies. So the Data Security Council of India has suggested a national cyber security strategy whereby the Government of India not only needs to strengthen its infrastructural response with respect to cyber security, but also to increase budgetary allocations to improve India's cyber security strategy for various key departments and ministries, including improving the cyber security at the state level. So in this regard, this report has provided certain steps to improve India's national cyber security strategy. Now before starting our discussion, let's go into these questions which can be asked as part of your prelims examination. So the question is, National Cyber Security Incidents Response Exercise or NCX-India for government officials and critical sector organizations to strengthen India's cyber posture has been organized by. Options are A. National Security Council Secretariat, B. Prime Minister's Office, C. Niti Aayog, and D. National Security Advisory Board. The next question is, National Security Council is headed by. Options are Cabinet Secretary, Prime Minister, Defence Minister, National Security Advisor. And lastly, the Data Security Council of India has been set up by. Options are A. NASSCOM, SEBI, FICCI or RBI. So after our discussion, you will be able to solve all these questions. So first of all, let's look into the aspects of this particular report which has been provided by the Data Security Council of India. Now regarding increasing cyber attacks in India, India has become more profitable for hacker groups and they demand ransom in the form of cryptocurrencies. Maharashtra has become the most targeted state for cyber security, facing 42% of all ransomware attacks, which is a form of cyber attack. The report says that 1/4 of Indian firms suffered ransomware attack in 2021, and Indian organizations witnessed a 218% of increase in ransomware attack, which is higher than the global average of 21%. So clearly, of late, we are witnessing an increased cyber attack in India. So we not only need to improve our critical infrastructure, but also address key gaps. So in this backdrop, this particular news highlights about the National Cyber Security Strategy of 2020, which was submitted by the Data Security Council of India. And the Data Security Council of India is a not-for-profit industry body on data protection in India set up by NASSCOM. So this council has been set up by NASSCOM, and it is committed to make cyberspace safe, secure, and trusted by establishing best practices, standards, and initiatives in cybersecurity and privacy areas. Now, the four major themes of this report submitted by Data Security Council of India includes: first, there is a need for large-scale digitization of public services. Second, it highlights about critical information infrastructure protection. Third, it mentions about improving and mapping the digital payment system in India, and also to share various threats which this platform receive, and the need to improve state level cyber security. So overall, this report highlights about having a secure cyber security infrastructure so as to strengthen the structure, people, process and processes capabilities, and also to synergize resources, including cooperation and collaboration with one another. So it is based on these three aspects the Data Security Council of India has presented its report, whereby it has focused on providing security at an early stage of digitization efforts to be made by the Government of India. So Government of India in all its digital infrastructure needs to focus on the aspect of improving cyber security at the very early stage of digitization. Further, the report mentions about enhancing institutional capacity in order to improve assessment, evaluation, certification, and also rating of core devices in order to secure these devices so that they do not remain vulnerable to increased cyber threats. So with respect to securing the national cyberspace, this report mentions about large-scale digitization of public services, improving the supply chain security, improving the critical information infrastructure protection, focusing on digital payment security, increase awareness of cybersecurity to different sectors of the economy, improving state-level cybersecurity, improving the cybersecurity of medium and small enterprises, as lot of digital transactions of late have started taking place in the small and medium business enterprises, and also providing training to law enforcement agencies and their officials with respect to advanced technology. Now, regarding the aspect of strengthening of structure, people, and process capabilities, the report mentions about strengthening the structure, character, institutions, and governance mechanism with respect to cybersecurity, improve budget allocation for cybersecurity measures, focus on research, innovation, and technology development with respect to cybersecurity, improve the capability and skill building efforts, provide for proper audit and assurance mechanism with respect to cybersecurity, provide adequate training to handle various kinds of crisis management and also cybersecurity incidents, and to strengthen the data security and governance infrastructure. And lastly, with respect to synergizing the resources, including cooperation and collaboration, there's a need to synergize internet infrastructure, standards development. There's a need to focus on cyber insurance, whereby the government should focus on developing products with respect to cyber insurance by quantification of threat analysis, use of cyber diplomacy by making brand India as a reliable cyber security partner, and synergizing the cybercrime investigation efforts at a global level. So these are some of the important highlights with respect to this particular report. Further, this news also highlights that the National Security Council Secretariat has formulated a draft National Cyber Security Strategy 2021, which holistically looks at addressing the issues of security of national cyberspace. So in this aspect, let's also understand about National Security Council Secretariat and also about the National Security Council. Now, regarding National Security Council, all aspects of national security are deliberated upon by this council, and this council is headed by the Prime Minister of India. It further says that the Ministers of Home Affairs, Defence, External Affairs and Finance are its members. the National Security Advisor is the secretary to the National Security Council. And there are three-tier structure of National Security Council. These comprises first the Strategic Policy Group, second the National Security Advisory Board, and third the National Security Council Secretariat. And the SPG, that is Strategic Policy Group, is chaired by the Cabinet Secretary. And SPG is the principal forum for inter-ministerial coordination and integration of relevant inputs. And the National Security Advisory Board undertakes long-term analysis and provides perspectives on issues of national security. Now let's also understand about the National Cyber Exercise India. Now this exercise is conducted by the National Security Council Secretariat, Government of India, in association with the Data Security Council of India as the knowledge partner, and also supported by DRDO, that is Defense Research and Development Organization. Now this exercise will be conducted as a hybrid exercise over a period of 10 days. And the aim of the exercise is to train senior management and technical personnel of the government and also critical sector organizations and agencies on contemporary cyber threats and handling cyber incidents and response. Further, the platform for training is being provided by Akhter Technologies, which is an Estonian cybersecurity company accredited for globally conducting several large-scale cyber exercises. And NCX-India will help strategic leaders to better understand cyber threats, assess readiness in case of cyber attack, and develop skills for cyber crisis management and cooperation. Now this will also help to develop and test cybersecurity skills, teamwork, planning, communication, critical thinking, and also decision making in times of cyber attack. So coming back to these questions, I hope now you'll be able to answer all these questions, as the National Cyber Security Incidents Response Exercise is conducted by National Security Council Secretariat. The National Security Council is headed by the Prime Minister, and Data Security Council of India has been set up by NASSCOM. So after discussing this article, let's take up the next articles for discussion. Now the next news to be taken up appears as an editorial on page number 6. The news says, "Time for change. The Indian Meteorological Department must update some processes and stress on shorter forecast with respect to predicting monsoon." So the Indian Meteorological Department, that is IMD, has forecasted a normal monsoon for this year, and this forecast is with respect to the April forecast. So there will also be another forecast later in May or in early June when rainfall arrives in Kerala. And the forecast also mentions about 99% of the long period average of 87 centimeter. So with respect to this editorial, you need to understand about the forecast done by Indian Meteorological Department and also certain problems which has been highlighted by this particular editorial. Now, one of the problems highlighted in this editorial is with respect to multiple forecasts provided by Indian Meteorological Department once in the month of April, which is a general indicator of monsoon, and then later towards the end of May or early June. So this gives mixed result, and at times the prediction may vary by IMD. The next problem highlighted in this editorial is that despite forecasting of El Nino in the Pacific Ocean, the IMD has predicted a normal monsoon. So the problem here is that when IMD again provides its forecast in the month of May or June, then this may change with respect to the El Nino current. Now this also creates the aspect of Indian dipole, which we will also try to understand. Now the third problem highlighted with respect to this editorial is regarding change of definition of long period average. Now this editorial says that as of now the LPA has been taken as 87 centimeter, whereas till 2018 the LPA was 89 centimeter. In 2018 and after, the LPA was readjusted at 88 centimeter, and now the LPA has been further readjusted at 87 centimeter. Now the report says that mere 1 centimeter may not appear much on a paper, but when we look at a range of 50 odd years, then the shift of 1 centimeter of rainfall might predict a wide changes in the rainfall pattern over a period of years. However, the Indian Meteorological Department has stated that they have adjusted the LPA to adjust various decades of dry epoch and also wet epoch. So according to Indian Meteorological Department, India witnessed a 30 years of dry epoch, and from 1970 to 80 onwards, India entered in the dry epoch era. as of now, according to IMD, we are presently in a neutral state, and in the decade of 2030 to 2040, we will enter the wet epoch era. So, these multiple predictions of IMD creates a sense of confusion with respect to prediction for rainfall. Now, in the previous DNS, we have discussed about both aspects of understanding about LPA and also about the impact of El Nino on Indian monsoon. So here, let us first of all understand about the impact of El Nino on Indian monsoon, and then we will try to understand this definition of long period average. Now basically, Indian Ocean Dipole refers to the difference in sea temperature in the western and eastern part of Indian Ocean. So Indian Ocean Dipole refers to the difference in sea temperature with respect to the eastern part and western part of the Indian Ocean. So this news says that there has been a negative Indian Ocean Dipole conditions over the Indian Ocean during monsoon. Now this means that warmer water and greater precipitation will be observed in the eastern Indian Ocean. Now an important point to be noted here is that when an Indian Ocean Dipole event occurs, the rainfall tends to move with the warmer waters. So with respect to Indian Ocean Dipole conditions, if the warmer waters is toward the western side of the Indian Ocean, then we have a positive Indian Ocean Dipole. So it means the western side of the Indian Ocean will receive more rainfall. Whereas with respect to negative Ocean Dipole, the warmer waters shift towards the eastern part of the Indian Ocean, and it means more precipitation in the eastern part of the Indian Ocean. So the important point to be noted with respect to Indian Ocean Dipole is that when this event occurs, the rainfall tends to move with warm waters. Now it is also observed that IOD, that is Indian Ocean Dipole movement or events, are often associated with El Nino and La Nina phenomena. Now El Nino refers to warming of the ocean surface or above average sea surface temperatures in the central and eastern tropical Pacific Ocean. Now this has an impact over Indonesia as rainfall tends to become reduced while rainfall increases over the tropical Pacific Ocean. Now just the opposite is La Nina, as it results in cooling of the ocean surface or below average sea surface temperatures in the central and eastern tropical Pacific Ocean. So when La Nina occurs over Indonesia, rainfall tends to increase while rainfall decreases over the central tropical Pacific Ocean. Now we know that during the positive phase of Indian Ocean Dipole, we witness more rain around the area of Africa, whereas during the phase of negative Indian Ocean Dipole, we see more rain around the areas of Australia and also around the areas of Indonesia. So we can say that IOD events can influence El Nino and also La Nina events. Now let's take up this particular question asked by UPSC in the prelims of 2017. The question was, with reference to Indian Ocean Dipole sometimes mentioned in the news while forecasting Indian monsoon, which of the following statements are correct? Options are: first, IOD phenomena is characterized by a difference in sea surface temperature between tropical western Indian Ocean and tropical eastern Pacific Ocean. No, this is the difference between sea temperature between western Indian Ocean and eastern Indian Ocean. So here the first statement becomes incorrect. Now the second statement reads, an IOD phenomena can influence El Nino's impact on the monsoon. Now this statement becomes correct as we have just seen. So the question is, select the correct answer using the code given below. So the correct answer here becomes B, that is 2 only. Now this news highlights that the meteorological department has said that India will receive normal rainfall as per its long period average. And the present long period average or the normal rainfall which India will receive this year would be 88 centimeter, having a 5% of error margin. Now long-term period average of rainfall is described or defined as average rainfall between June to September period across the country for 50-year period or for 50-year duration. Now this long period average has been changed from the earlier 89 centimeter to the present 88 centimeter. That is 1 centimeter of rainfall has been reduced as per the present calculation of long period average. Now this is because the period which has been taken for calculation of average rainfall every year for the last 50 years has been shifted. It was earlier from 1951 to 2000 and has now been shifted from 1961 to 2010. Now, what has happened so far is that this period, that is from 1961 to 2010, has accounted or seen various droughts in many years, such as a drought of 2002, 2004, and 2009. Now, in 2004 and 2009, respectively, these droughts saw a deficit of rainfall close to 19 to 20%. So, because of these, the present LPA has been reduced from the earlier 89 centimeter to the present of 88 centimeter. So it is in this regard the Indian Meteorological Department has announced that the monsoon this year would be likely be normal. And normal here means India will get 100% of its long period average with a potential 5% error margin. So with respect to calculation of average rainfall for India, this editorial has criticized IMD's way of forecasting of rainfall in India. So in this regard, let us go through how the Indian Meteorological Department forecasts the rainfall for the Indian subcontinent. It highlights that the agency follows a two-stage forecast system. The first forecast is done in April and the second one is done in the month of June. Now it's important to understand that by the time of June in most parts of the country, the situation with respect to monsoon is quite clear. So it is comparatively easier to predict for monsoon after the month of June. However, it is with respect to the April forecast where the IMD generally falters, as there are no early signs with respect to the monsoon in India. So with respect to the April forecast, the IMD tells if there are chances of drought or any other anomaly. Now what had happened in 2019 was that it was expected that less rainfall would occur, and IMD was also not very sure about it. However, it was witnessed that rainfall received in the year 2019 was highest in the last 25 years. So it is on this account that the forecasting model of Indian Meteorological Department has been criticized at times. So the question is that has IMD made any changes with respect to its models? So this news says that it has made two key changes with respect to its model this year. First is the fact that it has reduced the definition of normal rainfall by 1 centimeter to 88 centimeter, which we have already seen. And the second is that it has updated the monsoon onset and arrival dates for many states. Now these changes have been done in the model of IMD, recognizing the changing weather pattern of the world, including India. So just like any other weather phenomena, monsoon has been deeply impacted by climate change. So IMD want to ensure that its model incorporates all the climate change which has been witnessing over the past few years. So in this regard, it highlights that, for example, the monsoon is arriving later in many places, having long weak spells and is staying for longer periods. So this is some of the changes which we have witnessed in our weather pattern over the last few years, and these patterns are being incorporated in the model adopted by the Indian Meteorological Department. Now it's important to note that the Indian Meteorological Department functions under the Ministry of Earth Sciences. So after our discussion, let's go through a question asked by UPSC in the prelims of 2014. The question was fairly simple, however very conceptual. The question was, the seasonal reversal of winds is the typical characteristic of. Options were equatorial climate, Mediterranean climate, monsoon climate, all of the above. Now let us also go through one of the paragraph of NCERT. It says that the climate of India is strongly influenced by monsoon winds. The sailors who came to India in historic times were one of the first to have noticed the phenomena of monsoon. They benefited from the reversal of the wind system as they came by sailing ships at the mercy of the winds. The Arabs, who had also come to India as traders, named this seasonal reversal of the wind system as monsoon. So here the correct answer is monsoon climate, as it refers to the seasonal reversal of winds. So such type of conceptual questions at times are also asked by UPSC. Now let's take up this news appearing on page number 12. This news says Iridium phones, which are satellite phones, and thermal images detected. So this news says that signature of Iridium satellite phones and thermal images have been found in North and South Kashmir Valley recently, and these phones were left by NATO forces in Afghanistan while demilitarization process. So these phones are now in the hands of terrorists, which the government of India is trying to locate. Now from your examination perspective, especially from the perspective of science and technology, you need to know that how satellite phones function and also about the various uses of thermal imagers. Now Iridium is a brand which makes satellite phones. So these satellite phones enable voice messaging and also data services anywhere on Earth through rugged hardware designed to meet the needs of lone workers, adventurers, international travelers, government officials, etc. Now, a satellite phone functions like a radio receiver. So, when satellite phone is turned on, the signal goes up to any number of satellites in a compatible constellation where it is then registered with the constellation of satellites. Now, satellites phones uses satellites in the geostationary orbit and also in the low Earth orbit. Now, you must remember this aspect. Now, regarding the thermal imagers or a thermographic camera, which is also called an infrared camera or thermal imaging camera, is a device which creates an image using infrared radiation. And a thermal imager detects and measures the infrared energy of objects. So with respect to thermal images, it uses the infrared energy of objects. So the camera converts the infrared data into an electronic image which shows the apparent surface temperature of the object being measured. So it basically measures the surface temperature. The thermal camera has internal measuring devices which capture infrared radiation, and these devices are called microbolometers. These microbolometers records the temperature and then assigns a particular pixel to an appropriate color. And this is how it shows findings on a camera screen. So the color red and orange depicts higher temperature, whereas the colors blue and green depicts or stands for lower temperature. Now, various uses of thermal imaging can be in the field of military and police to target detection, condition monitoring and surveillance, for technical surveillance and countermeasures by the police and law enforcement agencies. It is used as thermal weapons sight. It is used for search and rescue operation in the firefighting operations. It is used in the field of medical sciences and also with respect to research. It is used for animal health. It is used during mechanical installations, aerial thermography as you can see in this picture, and it is also used for thermography in various industries. So overall, these can be said to be some of the applications of thermal imaging. Thus, this topic becomes important mainly from the perspective of GS paper 3 under science and technology. So after our discussion, this becomes your practice question for the day. The question is, consider the following with reference to satellite phones. First, these phones are used only in those areas where regular phones are not available. Second, such phones can be used through satellites in the low Earth orbit only. So the question is, which of the statements given above are correct? Options are A, 1 only, B, 2 only, C, both 1 and 2, and D, neither 1 nor 2. Now coming to the answer of yesterday, the question was, consider the following statements. First, midday meal is a compulsory scheme to all children studying in government schools. No, this statement is incorrect. Second, it is implemented as central sector scheme. No, this statement is also incorrect. And third, all states have same food menu for children under the scheme. This statement is also incorrect. Hence, the correct answer becomes D, that is none of the above. With this, we come to an end to today's discussion. Thank you for watching DNS.